Good morning, folks. My name is Hitzemann, County Court Judge here in Hernando County. You folks are here for your first appearance. The purpose of the first appearance is so that you may be informed of the charges against you. I will determine if probable cause exists for those charges. Probable cause simply means that it's more likely than not that a crime has occurred, and more likely than not that you're the person who has committed the crime. Of course, as you stand before me this morning, I presume that you're innocent of these charges. That presumption of innocence will stay with you through every stage of the proceedings unless and until the State Attorney's Office is able to prove the allegations against you beyond and to the exclusion of a reasonable doubt. We'll set your conditions of pretrial release this morning. That is your bail or your bond. In most cases, you've had a bond set already pursuant to the bond schedule here in the 5th Judicial Circuit of the warrant which led to your arrest. I'll determine if that bond should be raised or lowered or left the same, or whether there'll be additional conditions of pretrial release placed upon you. We will let you know when your next court date will be. If you'd like to have the services of the public defender, I'll gladly appoint the public defender to represent you this morning. You do have a right to have contact with folks on the outside, family, friends, counsel. If you have not had a chance to make that call, please let me know. We'll make sure that that happens. Finally, and most importantly, you're advised that you do have an absolute right to remain silent with regard to the facts which surround your arrest. I encourage you to do that. These proceedings are recorded. In addition, there is an assistant state attorney in the courtroom with me. If you say something that tends to incriminate you, they will use it against you in the prosecution down the road. I now need each and every one of you there at the jail to please raise your right hands and be sworn. Y'all solemnly swear or affirm, tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth. Outstanding. When I call your name, please step forward to the podium. Lauren Smith. Morning, Miss Smith.
Good morning.
No baby yet?
No, not yet. They're 3 minutes apart.
Okay. All right. And so this morning I have a charge then, burglary of a dwelling. There's probable cause for the charge. I think yesterday we appointed a public defender, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll appoint the PD. I'm going to, hang on a second. Just like yesterday, I'm going to set the bond on this one at $500. This one's also coming back on the 29th of January, and good luck with your labor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth Droz.
Judge, there's an offer for 1 day time service.
Okay. Morning, Elizabeth. What's your date of birth?
8/11/64.
Elizabeth.
8/11/64.
Yep, I got it. The charge this morning is trespass. The State Attorney's Office has offered to resolve this today if you wish. If you wanted to resolve it today, you could plead no contest. That would sentence you to the 1 day that you've already spent in jail, and this case would be over. If that's something you'd like to do, we can do that right now. If you'd rather have a chance to speak to an attorney, you sure can do that.
What?
What do you think?
I'm not. Huh?
Okay. She got any history, State?
No.
I understand, man. No history?
No.
All right. Elizabeth, I'm going to appoint a public defender for you. And then we're going to release you on your own recognizance, so they're going to let you out of jail today. You must be back in court on the 31st of January. And the other thing I want to remind you is that Publix that you were at yesterday, you cannot go back there. Do you understand me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, do not go back there. If you go back, they'll arrest you again. All right?
I know.
Okay, so they're going to let you out of jail today. You're going to be back in court on the 31st of January, and between now and then, you're going to get a hold of the public defender's office, okay? Okay. You got all that?
No.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Was it Getter? Stacy Hines. Morning, Stacy. What's your date of birth?
5/29/79.
Stacy, there's 3 charges this morning. I got possession of methamphetamine, possession of controlled substance, which I believe was alprazolam, and possession of drug paraphernalia. There's probable cause for those charges. As to those charges, you want to represent yourself. You want to hire private counsel. Would you like me to appoint the public defender?
Public defender.
I'll appoint the PD. State.
Possession of controlled substance and possession of paraphernalia.
And Stacy, I have an address for you on Osage Street in Brooksville. Is that where you were living?
Yeah.
How long have you
Yes,
been
sir.
there?
Since May.
Do you have a job these days?
Yeah, I work.
What do you do?
I work at Checkers. I've been there for almost 3 years.
Okay.
And if I don't get there tomorrow, I'm gonna lose it.
I understand. I'm going to leave your bonds per the schedule, which is $2,000 on the 2 felony charges, the meth and controlled substance, $1,000 on the misdemeanor. The total is $5,000. I'll have you back in court on the 29th of January. If you get out, make sure you contact the public defender right away, okay?
I won't.
Thank you. Crystal Jacobs. Morning, Miss Jacobs. What's your date of birth?
9/25/85.
Crystal, I have possession of methamphetamine and possession of drug paraphernalia this morning. There's probable cause for those charges. As to those charges, you want to represent yourself. You're going to hire private counsel. Would you like the public defender?
Public defender, please.
Appoint the PD, Steve.
No problem with this.
Excuse me, Your Honor, and I'm not sure, she was put on probation at 7/10/17 for 17 CT 2126 of Dwellers, and she also has a PTI for possession of paraphernalia and Dwellers. So she has 2 open cases.
When did she go on probation, then?
Both of them were put on 7/10/17.
Okay.
PTI first and then the Dwellers.
And the driving charge is still open?
I'm sorry.
I'm just thinking we're right at 6 months, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months.
If I'm not mistaken, I
Didn't you get 12?
I think it was long. She's not done.
Okay.
I think it's longer.
All right.
I didn't write down the end date, but it may have been 12
Okay.
months.
And I assume then warrant is forthcoming?
On the Dwellers, yes, and the PTI will be returned.
Okay. All right. And Crystal, I had that address on Osage Street. Is that where you were living?
Back and forth between there and my mom's, yeah.
Okay. Do you have a job these days?
No, sir.
All right. Well, here's where you're at, Crystal. I'm going to set the bond on these at $1,000 on the meth and $500 on the paraphernalia. However, the folks at misdemeanor probation have just informed me that you're on misdemeanor probation still, and so because you've picked up these new charges, they're going to swear out a warrant for the violation of probation. The bond on that warrant will be no bond. So when that gets served, you'll be back in jail without bond. If you spend money getting out on these charges and then get arrested on the VOP warrant, you may be out the money that you spent getting out on these. If you stay in jail and don't bond out, then you'll be getting credit for all the time that you've been in, even since you got arrested, and not from when the VOP warrant comes down. You certainly are free to bond out this morning if you wish, but I just want you to know the VOP is coming, all right?
Okay, thank you.
All right, and you'll be back in court on these on the 29th of January.
All right.
Thank you. Amber Leverock. Want to miss what you did, Bird?
2/3/89.
Amber, you're hearing a warrant signed by Judge Merritt. He found probable cause for a violation of probation. As to that charge, you want to represent yourself. You want to hire private counsel. Would you like the public defender?
Public defender.
I'll appoint the PD. Bond on the warrant is no bond. I can't change that. I'm going to change the date. I will have you back in court on the 17th of January. They told you the 29th. It'll be the 17th. Public defender will come see you before then, okay? Thank you. Tiffany Page. Morning, Miss Page. What's your date of birth?
2/19/1983.
And we got a warrant this morning signed by Judge Merritt because apparently he failed to appear in his court when required on a felony battery. And then there is also a capias, an arrest warrant that was also signed by Judge Merritt, charging you with the crime of failing to appear. As to those charges, you wish to represent yourself, you're going to hire private counsel. Would you like the public defender?
Public defender.
I'll appoint the PD. Judge Merritt has set your bonds at no bond. I can't change those. I'll send you back to see him on the 23rd of January. They told you the 29th. The right date is the 23rd. And the PD will come see you before then, okay? Mitz Thomason.
Hello, Your Honor.
Morning, Miss. What's your date of birth?
10/13/1981.
I got 3 charges this morning. I've got a battery being domestic in nature, a possession of marijuana, possession of drug paraphernalia. There's probable cause for those charges. As to those charges, you want to represent yourself, you want to hire private counsel, or would you like the public defender?
I'm not sure. I'm from Niagara Falls, New York. I just moved here, so I don't know what my best option would be.
Okay. Do you think you can afford to hire a lawyer?
Most likely.
Okay. Then try to do that first. If it turns out you can't afford one, we can always appoint you the public defender later, okay?
Okay, thank you.
And state any history.
No history.
And Mitz, I have an address for you on Freeport Drive in Spring Hill. Is that where you live?
Yes.
And how long have you been there?
About 6 months.
And Richard lives there as well?
Yes.
Do you have a job these days?
He's
Do
working.
you have a job?
Do I have to? Oh, no. I'm trying. I got into a real bad car accident. I'm doing a case of disability right now.
Okay. Okay. Mitch, what I'm going to do on the battery is I'll set a bond of $100 on the marijuana and the paraphernalia. I will release you on your own recognizance, so your total is $100. Condition of the bond is that if you and Richard wind up in that house together again, any contact you have must be peaceful contact. That means it's always a crime, of course, to touch him any way he doesn't want to be touched. So much as raising your voice could be a violation of your bond conditions, and you could wind up back in jail without bond. I'm not saying that you have to have contact with him. I'm just saying that if you do, it must be peaceful. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Have you back in court on the 31st of January. When you get out and speak to a lawyer, make sure they know that you have court on the 31st of January, all right?
Okay, thank you.
Eric Berg.
Morning, Your Honor.
Morning, Eric. What's your date of birth?
12/22/63.
Eric, I have a charge of grand theft. There's probable cause for the charge. As to the charge, you want to represent yourself. You want to hire private counsel. Would you like me to appoint the public defender?
Public defender. I have a case in front of Judge Merritt, January 9th at 1:15.
Okay. You guys show an open case?
Yes, sir.
Hang on a second, Eric. 2409. I'm sorry, what was the date again? And it's 17 CF 2409.
Your Honor, there's also a sample view.
Is open VOPs?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so he's already in jail without bond. Is that right, Eric?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because this happened back in July. Okay. All right. In that case, then I will leave the bond on this, Eric, at $2,000. We'll move it to the 9th, that's what we said, right? Of
Yeah,
January.
1:15.
What's that?
It's at 1:15 in the
Right,
afternoon.
right. On the 9th, public defender, of course, will come see you before your cases, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yep. Kevin Gonzalez Kendrick. Morning, Kevin. What's your date of birth?
April 29, 1980.
Kevin, I got 4 charges this morning: 2 counts of burglary of a structure, 1 count of burglary of a conveyance, and 1 count of grand theft. There's probable cause for those charges. As to those charges, you want to represent yourself, you want to hire private counsel. Would you like me to appoint the public defender?
Public defender.
I'll appoint the PD state.
Several decorated charges from petty theft, larceny, felony petty theft, resisting without, and that's all I can
And Kevin, I have an address for you on Ponce de Leon here in Brooksville. Is that where you live?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been there?
A month.
Do you have a job these days?
No, I can't work. I got a car accident.
I'm going to set the bond on all 4, and each of your charges at $2,000. That's a total of $8,000. I'll have these back on the 29th of January. If you get out, make sure you go see the public defender right away, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Jonathan Lawrence. Morning, Mr. Lawrence. What's your date of birth?
9/2/82.
Jonathan, you're here on a warrant signed by Judge Rupi. She found probable cause for a violation of probation. The folks at probation have recommended 30 days in the county jail for this. If you'd like to resolve it today, you can. If you'd rather have a chance to speak to an attorney before you take the 30 days, you sure can do that. What would you like to do?
I already have a court date on January 9th.
In front of who?
Not sure. I think it's Merritt Jr.
Okay.
I think.
Well, this is not going to go there. We'll be back in front of Judge Rupi on the 17th. If you'd rather go see what happens in felony court first, you sure can do that.
Well, if we can settle it for 30 days, I'll do that today.
Okay. How long have you been in jail? Just since last night?
No, sir. Since the 16th
Of
of
December?
December. Yes, sir.
At the jail. Can you all confirm for me that he's been in jail since the 16th?
Yes, Your Honor. So here's what we'll do, Jonathan. You understand by entering an admission to a violation of probation, you give up the right to have a trial to the court, the right to confront the witnesses against you, the right to have a lawyer represent you. But you're willing to give up those rights so we can take care of this today?
Yes, sir.
Case number 17, MM1788. As to the technical allegations of technical violations only, do you admit that you violated your probation?
Yes, sir.
I'll accept the admission, find is freely and voluntarily made. I'll revoke and terminate the probation unsuccessfully. Adjudicate you guilty of the underlying charge if that wasn't done before. I'll sentence you to 30 days in the county jail with credit for 20 days served. There'll be a $50 cost of prosecution and your cost of incarceration, but that takes care of your misdemeanor, all right?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yep. Kenneth Mathis. Morning, Ken. What's your date of birth?
3/10/60.
Okay, Ken, the first thing I have for you, we have a new charge of possession of methamphetamine, possession of drug paraphernalia. Then I have a warrant signed by Judge Toner. Apparently you failed to appear in his court on a charge of false statement to obtain unemployment benefit. And then finally I have a warrant also signed, this one's signed by me, and I found probable cause for a violation of probation. There's probable cause then for all of those charges. As to those charges, you want to represent yourself, you want to hire private counsel, would you like the public defender?
Public defender.
I'll appoint the PD. The bond on
bond on the VOP, of course, is no bond. I'm not going to change that. I'll have you back in court on that on the 31st of January. I think they told you the 29th. The right date on that is the 31st. And then on the Judge Toner's FTA, bond on that is $4,000. I'm not going to change that. That one's coming back. That one will be coming back on the 29th of January. And then on the two new charges, I'll leave the bonds per the schedule, which is $2,000 and $1,000 respectively. And those are also coming back on the 29th of January. So the public defender will come see you before your court dates on the 29th and the 31st, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Michael McVicker. Well, Michael, what's your date of birth?
12/29/83.
Michael, you're here on a charge of grand theft. There's probable cause for the charge. As to that charge, you want to represent yourself. You want to hire a private counsel. Would you like the public defender?
Public defender.
I'll point to PD and state.
Possession of hydrocodone, second violation of probation, trafficking with controlled substances, dealing with stolen property, false information, and alcohol.
And Michael, I have an address for you on Marengo Street in Brooksville. Is that where you live?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been there?
A year.
Do you have a job these days?
No, sir.
Going to leave the bond per the schedule, which is the $2,000. I'll have you back in court on the 29th of January. If you get out, it's very important that you go see the public defender, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. David Moralobo.
Yes, Your Honor.
Morning, David. What's your date of birth?
5/25/77 morning.
You have two charges this morning. You've got a battery being domestic in nature and driving on a suspended license. There's probable cause for those charges. As to those charges, you wish to represent yourself. You're going to hire a private counsel. Or would you like me to appoint the public defender?
No, public defender, Your Honor.
I'll appoint the PD state.
Misdemeanor, possession of marijuana, 2 counts of those, theft, secure, out of my department. Risk of resisting without, false information from conflict, grand theft. That's all.
David, I have an address for you on Wooden Drive in Spring Hill. Is that where you live?
That is correct, Your Honor.
How long have you been there?
About 4 years.
And Ms. Vargas lives there as well?
That is correct.
And do you have a job these days?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. I just got one.
What do you do?
I install windows I install doors and windows on storefronts.
Okay.
Commercial.
Okay. We'll set your bond at $500 on each count. The total is $1,000. Condition of bond on the battery is that you'll have no contact with Ms. Vargas while these charges are pending. No contact means no contact of any kind. You don't call, you don't write, you don't email, you don't text message, you don't contact her through any other social media. You don't have a third person contact her. Don't go where she lives, don't go where she works. You don't have contact of any kind. Any way that you might imagine contacting her, I forbid you to do that. If you have contact and we find out about it, your bond will be revoked and you'll be held without bond until the charge is resolved. It means no contact even if she wants the contact. So if you answer your phone and hear her voice, you should hang up. If you're out and about and see her, you should turn around and run the other way. You need to understand that she cannot drop that charge. That's not a decision that she gets to make. She might go to the state attorney's office and tell them that she does not want you charged, that she doesn't want to participate. But that decision belongs solely to the assistant state attorney who will be handling your case. So unless that person or the judge on your case tells you the charges are dropped, you should assume they're not dropped and you should not have contact. In addition, I've got to hold it today up until 4 p.m. so that if she wanted to serve you with a civil injunction for protection against domestic violence, we'd know where to find you. If you get the civil injunction, it's doubly important that you not have contact, because in that case, not only could you get new charges here, but you might get new charges for violating the injunction. As far as the address on Wooden goes, as long as she stays there, you'll have to stay somewhere else until this case is resolved. You can go by one time to collect your clothes, your toothbrush, whatever you need for wherever you plan to stay. To accomplish that, however, you must contact law enforcement first. They'll meet you there with a deputy or an officer as appropriate. They will stand by while you collect your things and get going where you're going. We're going to have you back in court on the 31st of January. Very, very important that when you get out, you contact the public defender's office, all right?
Okay.
Thank you. Christopher Moyos. Morning, Christopher. What's your date of birth?
4576.
Christopher, we have two charges this morning. They're both batteries being domestic in nature. There's probable cause for the two charges. As to those charges, you wish to represent yourself. You're going to hire a private counsel. Would you like me to appoint the public defender?
Public defender, please, Your Honor.
I'll appoint the PD, State.
Possession of cocaine, fire battery, disorderly intent, DUI, PD, battery. That's all.
Christopher, I had an address for you on Portillo Road in Spring Hill. Is that where you live?
That's correct.
And how long have you been there?
Just a couple of weeks.
And Mary and Catherine live there as well?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Right. And you have a job these days?
I do.
What do you do?
I work for, it's called Florida Events. I do home repair.
Okay. You're going to set your bond at $1,000 on each count, so the total is $2,000. Condition is that you have no contact with either of these ladies. Did you hear me explain no contact a moment ago?
Yes, sir.
And you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Also have to hold you up until 4 p.m. so that if either of them wish to serve you with an injunction, we know where to find you. You can go back to that address one time to collect your things, but you must contact the sheriff's office first. And then you'll be back in court on the 31st of January. It's very important that you go see the public defender if you get out, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Eric Nielsen. Morning, sir. What's your date of birth?
350.
Eric, the charge is battery being domestic in nature. There's probable cause for the charge. As to that charge, you wish to represent yourself. You're going to hire private counsel. Would you like the public defender?
Public defender, please.
Appoint the PD, State.
Like to appear, DVD battery and assault, prevent to violence. That's all.
And Eric, I have an address for you on Archway Drive in Spring Hill. Is that where you live?
Yes, sir.
How long have you lived there?
9 years.
And Miss Sanborn lives there as well?
Yes.
Do you have a job these days?
I'm retired.
Okay. Going to set your bond at $1,000. Condition of the bond is that you have no contact with Miss Sanborn. Did you hear me explain what no contact means?
Yes, sir.
And you understood that?
Yes.
Very good. Also have to hold you till 4 p.m. so that she wants to serve you with an injunction. We know where to find you. If she stays at Archway Drive, you'll have to stay somewhere else. You can go by one time to collect your things, but you must contact the sheriff's office first. I'll have you back in court on the 31st of January. Very important that you go see the public defender when you get out, all right?
Yes.
Thank you. Anthony Paladolo.
Yes, sir.
Morning, Anthony. What's your date of birth?
October 25th, 1980.
Anthony, you're here on a warrant signed by Judge Merritt. He found probable cause for a violation of probation. As to that charge, you want to represent yourself. You want to hire private counsel. Would you like the public defender?
The public defender, sir, please.
I'll appoint the public defender. Bond on the warrant is no bond. I can't change that. I'm going to change your date to the 23rd of January. So the public defender will come see you before your court date on the 23rd, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Reese Parrish.
Morning,
Sir,
sir.
what's your date of birth?
10/30/81.
All right, Reese, you are here on a writ of bodily attachment. That means that a child support hearing officer and a circuit judge determined that you owe some child support. They set a cash purge of $1,070. Do you have $1,070, Reese?
Not at the moment, Your Honor.
Okay. Are you working these days?
No, sir.
All right. How long has it been since you worked?
About 6-7 months.
All right. Have you been injured or some other reason why you can't work?
We just recently relocated from Winter Haven to Mulberry, so I just haven't found another job yet in Mulberry.
Okay. And then, Reese, is there some amount of money, any amount, that you could get to the jail today if it meant getting out of jail today?
Yes, sir, but I'm not sure exactly that amount without talking to my...
Well, pick a number, Reese.
$600?
Okay. All right. I'm going to find that you're in contempt for your failure to pay child support. The sanction for that contempt is 10 days in the county jail starting today, or until you come up with $500. So if you get somebody to bring the money to the jail, then you're out, okay? In either event, if you do the 10 days or pay the money, the first thing you should do once you're out is go to the child support office and find out what the problem is, because you've got to get this cleared up. If you don't get it cleared up, they'll start the process over again and you'll get arrested again, all right?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Richard Thomason? Morning, Richard. What's your date of birth?
Hi, Your Honor. 10/8/1980.
Richard, I have 4 charges this morning. I have a battery being domestic in nature, and I have an assault on a law enforcement officer, a battery on a law enforcement officer, and resisting with violence, which is probable cause for those charges. As to those charges, you want to represent yourself, you want to hire a private counsel, or would you like the public defender?
I'd like to hire a private counsel.
Very good. And state, what can you tell me?
DUI is recommendation.
All right. And Richard, I have that address for you on Freeport Drive. Is that where you live?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been there?
I've been there 6 months, Your Honor.
Okay. And Mitz lives there with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. As to the battery, I'm going to set the bond at $100. Condition on that is that you have peaceful contact. If you have contact with Mitz, you have peaceful contact. You heard me explain all that to her?
Yes, I did.
All right. As to the other 3 charges, I'll set the bond at $2,500 each, so your total is $7,600. All of these cases will be back on the 29th of January. If you get out, make sure you tell your private counsel about the 29th of January, all right?
Yes. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Donald Rayburn? Morning, Mr. Rayburn. What's your date of birth?
9/11/66.
All right. So, Mr. Rayburn, the first thing I have is a warrant signed by Judge Toner. He found probable cause for a possession of a place for the sale of a controlled substance, the sale of a controlled substance, possession of methamphetamine with intent, and possession of drug paraphernalia. Next, we have a warrant also signed by Judge Toner. On that one, he found probable cause for the same 4 charges. Then I have a new arrest for a grand theft. And then we have new arrest for 1 count of armed trafficking of methamphetamine, 1 count of possession of a place for trafficking methamphetamine, 3 counts of possession of firearm by a convicted felon, 1 count of possession of ammunition by a convicted felon, 1 count of possession of a stolen firearm, 1 count of possession of a controlled substance, and 1 count of misdemeanor possession of marijuana. All of those charges have probable cause. As to those charges, you wish to represent yourself, you're going to hire private counsel. Would you like the public defender?
Public defender for now.
I'll appoint the public defender. Stay with me, tell me.
Dealing in stolen property, possession of cocaine, driving while suspended, several grand theft charges, felony driving while suspended, attempting to flee in a little, resisting without, possession of cocaine, grand theft, and that's times 3 under grand theft of motor vehicle, burglary of an occupied structure, another grand theft, and another burglary.
Don, will I have that address on Osage Street? Is that where you were living?
Yes, sir.
How long have
Could
you
I request,
Go ahead.
could I request a bond around 70,000?
Okay, well, hang on a second. How long have you lived on Osage?
A year.
You have a job these days?
Partial owner of Integrity Tree Care.
Okay. You want a bond that totals 70,000, and why should I reduce the bond? Just because that's what you can afford?
No, I'm not even sure I can afford that. I just would like to provide some help to my mom. She's 72 and at that house.
Okay. All right. I'm not going to reduce the bond. I'm going to leave it per the schedule with all of the charges. That comes to a total of 94,000. All of those charges are going to be back in court on the okay. So one of these was supposed to come back to merit. Are they all supposed to go back to merit? Okay. They'll all be back on the 23rd of January. They told you the 29th. They'll all be coming back on the 23rd. Make sure you mention that date to, well, you asked for the public defender, right?
Yes.
Okay. Public defender will come see if you don't get out. If you do get out, go see him right away, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.